November 12, 1942, Richmond, California. An ordinary stretch of mud flats had transformed into the epicenter of an industrial miracle. A colossal cargo vessel, 441 feet long and weighing nearly 28,500 tons, stood ready to enter San Francisco Bay. This was no ordinary ship. The SS Robert E. Peary had been assembled in a mere 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. In a world where ships of this size traditionally took 6 to 8 months to construct, this achievement shattered every notion of maritime limits. Over 1,000 workers, farmers, housewives, secretaries, and laborers, many of them having learned welding only weeks prior, stepped back from the gleaming hull, their eyes reflecting awe, disbelief, and a hint of pride. Officials, journalists, and competitors had gathered, not just to witness a ship launch, but to witness a revolution that would ripple across the industrial world. Henry J. Kaiser, the man behind this audacious endeavor, had no prior experience in shipbuilding. He had spent decades building dams and moving mountains of concrete. But ships? That was uncharted territory. In December 1940, he signed his first contract with the United States Maritime Commission, committing to build 30 cargo vessels for Britain in 2 years, a feat that traditional shipbuilders deemed impossible. The skeptics were not subtle. The Todd Bath Iron Works, a bastion of American shipbuilding tradition, agreed to collaborate only reluctantly, confident that their centuries of experience would cover Kaiser's ignorance. What they could not foresee was that his outsider status would become his greatest advantage. Kaiser approached shipbuilding not as an art, but as a problem of production, inspired by the assembly lines of Detroit's Ford factories. His chief engineer, Clay Bedford, had visited a car plant weeks earlier and returned with a vision. Ships could be constructed like automobiles, in sections, simultaneously, and then seamlessly joined. The idea of abandoning centuries-old riveting methods for electric arc welding stunned traditionalists. Rivets, hammered meticulously into place by skilled crews, had defined shipbuilding for generations. Kaiser's method threatened to render that expertise obsolete, replacing it with a workforce trained in weeks rather than years. The urgency of war left no room for hesitation. German U-boats were decimating Allied shipping faster than conventional shipyards could replace vessels. At the rate of 230 days per ship, America could not keep pace with destruction. Desperation, not faith, guided the approval of Kaiser's contract. Richmond rose from mud flats in under a year, sprawling like an automobile factory rather than a traditional yard. Massive cranes, open prefabrication areas, and parallel building ways redefined efficiency. Experts visiting the site were horrified and amazed, noting violations of every shipbuilding principle while reluctantly acknowledging the genius of the design. The workforce, recruited from across the United States and motivated by higher wages and intensive training, became the lifeblood of this revolution. Thousands of unskilled workers mastered specific welding tasks in weeks. By spring 1942, construction times plummeted, from 197 days for the first Liberty ship to an average of 70 days, with records falling continually. Parallel production allowed hulls, engines, and sections to be prepared simultaneously, then joined with precision. This was industrial choreography, turning ordinary citizens into creators of ships faster than the enemy could imagine. Competition among Kaiser's 7 yards fueled further innovation. Oregon and California facilities raced for speed, breaking records and capturing public attention, until Vice Admiral Vickery intervened, calling the rivalry a stunt, but inadvertently cementing a culture of extraordinary efficiency. By November 1942, Richmond Yard No. 2 attempted the impossible, constructing the SS Robert E. Peary in under 5 days, achieving a milestone that would leave traditionalists in awe and cement Kaiser's reputation as a visionary who had transformed the very concept of ship production. As the workers of Richmond Yard prepared for the launch of the SS Robert E. Peary, the world outside remained oblivious to the scale of what was unfolding. Over 1,000 men and women, most of them without prior shipbuilding experience, coordinated like a well-oiled machine. Every steel plate, every section, every engine component had been prefabricated, inspected, and staged. The bow, stern, and 4 massive cargo holds were fully equipped before touching the building ways. Even the engine, a 140-ton triple expansion steam plant, had been tested off-site. The transformation from raw materials to a fully operational cargo ship in just over 4 days defied centuries of maritime tradition. Observers could barely comprehend the audacity of it. Vice Admiral Emery Land, who had approved Kaiser's plan months earlier out of necessity rather than conviction, now witnessed the culmination of industrial audacity. Ships built with welding instead of rivets, assembled in sections rather than sequentially, and operated by workers trained in mere weeks were no longer theoretical experiments. They were reality. Journalists scribbled furiously, while seasoned naval architects muttered under their breath, grappling with the fact that a vessel of this size and complexity had been constructed faster than they had ever imagined possible. Kaiser's approach relied not only on innovation but also on psychology. He turned speed into motivation. Across his 7 yards, crews raced against each other, tracking records, celebrating new milestones, and striving to outdo their peers. Oregon's yard built the Joseph N. Teal in just 10 days, sparking both admiration and consternation. While critics feared these feats were mere stunts, the workers themselves internalized a new standard. Extraordinary achievement was not exceptional, it was expected. This culture of performance accelerated production, solidifying the link between morale, ambition, and industrial output. Meanwhile, the makeup of the workforce was revolutionary in its own right. Tens of thousands of women and minorities entered the shipyards, performing skilled labor that had traditionally been reserved for men with generations of apprenticeship. By 1944, women constituted nearly 27% of Richmond's workforce, many of them mastering welding, fitting, and even supervisory responsibilities. African American workers, previously marginalized in industrial roles, took on positions as crane operators, fitters, and welders. This integration was not only a logistical necessity but also a social transformation, demonstrating that when opportunity and training are provided, traditional barriers dissolve and potential is unlocked. The efficiency of Kaiser's methods shocked traditionalists repeatedly. Prefabrication allowed multiple sections of a ship to be completed simultaneously. Engines were assembled in open workshops and installed in a single operation. A process that once consumed weeks now took mere hours. Workers trained for specific, repeatable tasks mastered their craft in days rather than years, while coordination between yards and facilities ensured that bottlenecks disappeared. By mid-1943, average Liberty ship construction had fallen from 230 days to just 42, with record-setting examples completing in less than 5 days. The mathematics of war now favored production over perfection. Yet even with speed and scale, the ships remained functional and reliable. Skepticism about welded hulls proved unfounded. Despite a few instances of brittle fractures early on, the Liberty ships were durable, with many surviving decades beyond their expected 5-year service life. Ships like the SS John W. Brown and SS Jeremiah O'Brien continue to sail or exist as museum ships, tangible proof that rapid production need not compromise longevity. Kaiser's vision had not only defeated time constraints, but also redefined standards for industrial quality and durability. The implications of this transformation extended far beyond Richmond. Other shipyards adopted prefabrication and welding, and lessons from Kaiser's approach influenced global shipbuilding in the decades that followed. The industrial principles proved applicable to housing, bridges, steel construction, and even healthcare organization. Kaiser's vision demonstrated that complex projects could be executed faster, more efficiently, and with broader participation than previously imagined. Industrial limits were not fixed. They were challenges waiting to be rethought. As November 12th approached, the stage was set for a demonstration that would astonish the world. The SS Robert E. Perry was more than a ship. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, collaborative effort, and the unstoppable force of innovation in the face of urgency. In the coming days, what would unfold at Richmond would rewrite industrial history, leaving a legacy that extended far beyond wartime necessity into the very fabric of modern production and organizational thought. The morning of November 8, 1942, dawned with an electric sense of anticipation at Richmond Yard Number 2. Over 1,000 workers moved with precision, each step choreographed, yet fueled by raw determination. This was no ordinary assembly. It was a demonstration of industrial audacity, a live experiment in human coordination, engineering, and speed. The ship chosen for the record attempt, SS Robert E. Perry, was slated to be completed from keel laying to launch in under 10 days, a feat previously thought unimaginable by seasoned shipbuilders. Every crane, every section, every bolt and weld had been meticulously planned to transform chaos into order. The scale of prefabrication was staggering. The bow, stern, and 4 massive cargo holds had been fully assembled and equipped before touching the building ways. The engine, a 140-ton triple expansion steam plant, had been tested and mounted on its foundation, ready to slide seamlessly into the hull. Unlike traditional shipyards, where sequential building could stretch over months, Richmond's parallel assembly approach meant the ship essentially came together in one massive, coordinated puzzle. Workers, many of them women and minorities with no prior maritime experience, executed specialized tasks repeatedly, perfecting them with astonishing speed. In these brief weeks of training, ordinary people had become masters of efficiency. The clock began ticking at 1 minute past midnight on Sunday, November 8th. Shifts rotated continuously, with workers and engineers operating in precise coordination to maintain momentum. Sections of the hull were lifted by massive cranes, welded into place, and reinforced almost simultaneously. Engines were positioned, cargo holds secured, and deckhouses installed, all while inspectors monitored quality with a critical yet silent vigilance. There was no room for error, yet fear of failure was replaced by confidence in preparation and teamwork. The atmosphere was charged, a mix of suspense, pride, and audacity. News of the record attempt spread quickly, creating a media sensation. Journalists and officials crowded the site, their cameras capturing every weld, every crane lift, every synchronized movement. For traditional shipbuilders, the spectacle was almost surreal. Here were vessels larger than most had ever built, rising from raw steel faster than experience could predict. Each day brought progress that defied conventional wisdom, pushing skepticism aside and inspiring admiration even among critics. The tension was palpable, every observer aware that history was in the making. As the 4th day approached, the ship took form with breathtaking speed. The hull was complete, engines in place, cargo holds aligned. The workers' skill, combined with Kaiser's vision, had turned a monumental task into a systematic, almost mechanical process. What had been considered impossible, a complete operational Liberty ship in under 5 days, was now within reach. The prefabrication strategy, once mocked by traditionalists, proved to be the key. Sections constructed separately, each with its own completed components, were now unified into a cohesive, seaworthy vessel. The launch of SS Robert E. Perry at 3:30 p.m. on November 12th was a culmination of this relentless effort. The ship slid gracefully into San Francisco Bay, a tangible proof of what industrial ingenuity, coordination, and vision could achieve. Officials, naval officers, and journalists watched in awe. The vessel required only minor adjustments before being fully operational, a feat that would have taken conventional shipyards months to accomplish. Kaiser's methods, initially dismissed as reckless and untested, had delivered results that defied logic and surpassed expectations. The psychological impact on traditional maritime authorities was immediate and profound. The same engineers who had doubted Kaiser's vision were now compelled to study and replicate his methods. The belief that only generationally trained craftsmen could build functional ships was shattered. Ordinary workers, given proper training and organizational structure, had accomplished extraordinary feats. The record-setting speed not only demonstrated efficiency, but redefined what was considered possible in industrial production. Beyond Richmond, the ripple effect was monumental. Kaiser's techniques influenced yards across the United States, raising production rates and reducing costs dramatically. Women, minorities, and unskilled laborers, once excluded from critical industrial roles, became integral to production, forever altering workforce dynamics. The Liberty Ship program, with SS Robert E. Perry as its crowning achievement, had become a model of modern manufacturing, a blueprint for speed, efficiency, and large-scale industrial transformation. The SS Robert E. Peary was more than a ship. It was a symbol of human potential realized through innovation and determination. While the world focused on battles across oceans and continents, the quiet revolution in Richmond reshaped the very foundations of industrial capability. Ordinary men and women, secretaries, farmers, housewives, and laborers, had become pioneers of modern shipbuilding. Every welded seam, every hoisted cargo hold, every aligned engine part told a story of speed, precision, and audacity. Kaiser had proven that with proper organization, even untrained workers could accomplish feats once thought impossible. The success of Richmond's experiment reverberated across the American maritime industry. Shipyards that had dismissed Kaiser's approach now sent engineers to study his methods, desperate to understand how unskilled labor and prefabrication could outproduce centuries of traditional expertise. Reports from these visits described scenes that defied logic. Sections of ships fully assembled before touching the building ways, engines positioned in hours rather than weeks, and workers performing repetitive tasks with astonishing mastery. The very definition of craftsmanship was evolving, replaced by efficiency, speed, and innovation. Kaiser's workforce composition alone was revolutionary. Women and minorities, who had historically been barred from skilled labor positions, were now integral to production. By 1944, women comprised 27% of Richmond's workforce, taking on welding, fitting, and even supervisory responsibilities. African American workers operated cranes, assembled engines, and ensured quality control. These were not token assignments. They were critical, skilled roles in which performance directly impacted production. The Liberty Ship program demonstrated that opportunity and training, not generational knowledge, defined capability. Social barriers crumbled in the face of necessity, revealing untapped potential that would influence labor practices for decades to come. Kaiser's approach to production challenged long-held beliefs about complexity and skill. Instead of relying on sequential construction, Richmond's yards employed parallel assembly lines. While one crew welded the bow, another assembled the stern. Engines were constructed off-site and installed in a single operation. Training emphasized specialization over comprehensive mastery. Workers learned to perform specific tasks repeatedly and efficiently. The learning curve accelerated dramatically, reducing average construction times from 230 days to just 42 by 1943. By the peak of production, the Richmond yards alone were completing ships in less than 350,000 worker hours, a level of efficiency previously unimaginable. The speed of production had a strategic impact that resonated far beyond the shipyards. Allied shipping losses in the Atlantic and Pacific were devastating, with German U-boats sinking cargo faster than conventional shipbuilding could replace it. Kaiser's Liberty ships altered the calculus. The mathematics of war now favored production over attrition. While enemy submarines destroyed vessels, American shipyards replaced them faster than they could be sunk. The Pacific War, often seen as a series of fierce battles across islands and oceans, was equally won in factories, workshops, and assembly lines. Logistics, efficiency, and production became as decisive as bravery on the battlefield. The psychological effects of rapid shipbuilding were equally profound. Traditional maritime authorities, once dismissive, were forced to confront a new reality. Skill was not inherited, it could be trained. Efficiency could surpass perfection. Adequate ships built in days could deliver more cargo than perfectly crafted vessels still under construction. The paradigm had shifted. Innovation, adaptability, and courage to challenge convention mattered more than adherence to centuries of tradition. Beyond wartime, the Liberty Ship program influenced global industry. Prefabrication techniques, welding methods, and parallel production became standard in shipbuilding worldwide. Countries rebuilding after the war, from Japan to South Korea, studied Kaiser's methods to establish modern maritime industries. These principles extended beyond shipbuilding, shaping construction, manufacturing, and operations management in diverse sectors. Kaiser had demonstrated a universal truth. When human potential is organized and empowered, limitations dissolve, and extraordinary results emerge. By November 1942, the SS Robert E. Peary had become a lasting testament. It was more than a record-setting ship. It embodied the triumph of innovation, determination, and collaboration. The lessons of Richmond, speed over tradition, opportunity over exclusivity, and vision over skepticism, would echo long after the ship sailed into the bay. Ordinary people, given structure and belief, had accomplished what experts had deemed impossible. Humanity's capacity for achievement had been rewritten in steel and sweat, leaving an indelible mark on history, industry, and imagination. The legacy of the Liberty Ship program extended far beyond the launch of SS Robert E. Peary. By the end of 1943, Kaiser's 7 shipyards had produced hundreds of vessels, transforming the U.S. from a minor maritime power into the world's industrial titan. Every ship rolling off the assembly lines was proof that ordinary workers, organized with vision and precision, could achieve the extraordinary. This wasn't just shipbuilding. It was a demonstration that innovation could topple tradition and redefine what was possible in any industry. Each Liberty ship, while simple in design, carried immense strategic weight. With cargo holds capable of transporting thousands of jeeps, hundreds of tanks, and millions of rounds of ammunition, these vessels became the lifeline of Allied forces across Europe and the Pacific. Everyday ships were delivered faster than German submarines could sink them, making logistical bottlenecks virtually impossible. The mathematics of warfare had shifted. Production, not heroism alone, determined victory. Kaiser's innovation had turned factories into battlefronts and workers into critical actors in the war effort. The social transformation within the shipyards was equally remarkable. Women and minorities, once marginalized in skilled labor, proved their competence and resilience. By 1944, tens of thousands of women were welding, fitting, and supervising, while African American workers took on crucial roles, including crane operations and engine installations. Prejudices that had long dictated employment in industrial America were challenged daily by the success of this workforce. Their achievements proved that skill could be taught rapidly, specialization could replace years of apprenticeship, and opportunity could redefine a nation's workforce forever. Kaiser's methodology had a ripple effect across industries. Prefabrication and modular construction techniques, once mocked, became blueprints for global shipbuilding after the war. Nations rebuilding their maritime capacity studied the Liberty Ship program, replicating its principles in their own shipyards. Beyond ships, these methods influenced construction, industrial manufacturing, and organizational management. Kaiser had demonstrated a universal lesson: efficient systems, well-trained teams, and bold experimentation could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Even with rapid production, quality remained surprisingly resilient. Critics initially feared welded ships would break under pressure, but careful inspection and continuous improvement minimized failures. Of the 2,710 Liberty ships built, catastrophic fractures were rare. Many vessels outlasted their expected service lives, with museum ships like SS John W. Brown and SS Jeremiah O'Brien still operational decades later. Their endurance became living proof that speed did not necessitate compromise, and that revolutionary approaches could coexist with reliability. The economic impact of the shipbuilding boom was profound. Entire regions transformed as towns grew around shipyards. Richmond, California, ballooned from a population of 23,000 in 1940 to over 100,000 by 1943. Vanport City in Oregon became the state's second-largest city almost overnight. These boomtowns were temporary yet transformative, illustrating how concentrated industrial investment could reshape societies, economies, and opportunities. Kaiser's shipyards were more than factories. They were engines of societal change, creating employment, infrastructure, and pathways for future generations. Healthcare innovations also emerged from this industrial revolution. To support the massive workforce, Kaiser partnered with Dr. Sidney Garfield to develop prepaid medical programs that evolved into Kaiser Permanente. Workers received preventive care, ensuring continuity in production and contributing to broader public health improvements. The combination of industrial efficiency and social welfare became a model for integrated workplace solutions, leaving a legacy far beyond the steel of Liberty ships. Perhaps most importantly, The psychological barrier to innovation had been shattered. The Liberty Ship program proved that conventional wisdom was not absolute. Experts had claimed a ship could not be built in days, that untrained labor would fail, and that speed would compromise quality. Kaiser demonstrated that the impossible was merely unexplored. This paradigm shift in thinking about production, training, and industrial organization reshaped post-war America. Engineers, managers, and policymakers carried these lessons into peacetime industries, building a nation capable of rapid recovery, adaptation, and growth. The SS Robert E. Perry, launched in under 5 days, symbolized the extraordinary achievement of ordinary people. Its creation challenged centuries of maritime tradition, proving that with vision, organization, and courage, industries could accomplish feats previously deemed impossible. Every Liberty ship thereafter was not just a vessel of cargo. It was a testament to human ingenuity, innovation, and the transformative power of collective effort. Kaiser's revolution in shipbuilding would echo across decades, inspiring generations to question limits, embrace efficiency, and achieve the extraordinary. By 1944, the magnitude of Kaiser's Liberty Ship program was undeniable. The United States was now producing merchant vessels at a rate that overwhelmed enemy expectations. Japanese and German strategists had assumed that sinking ships faster than they could be replaced would strangle Allied logistics, but Kaiser had rewritten the rules. Ships were being delivered faster than ever imagined, with Richmond and Portland leading a production race that turned industrial capability into a decisive weapon. The warfront stretched from the Atlantic convoys to Pacific island-hopping campaigns, yet much of the victory was being forged not on beaches, but in workshops, on assembly floors, and within the meticulous choreography of prefabrication lines. The program's emphasis on specialized training and division of labor ensured that workers could master essential tasks within weeks rather than years. From vertical seam welding on bulkheads to precise engine assembly, employees gained confidence and speed rapidly. Workers became experts in repetition and coordination, and the industrial rhythm they achieved resembled a symphony of movement, each crew synchronized to maintain the relentless tempo of production. This approach fundamentally transformed perceptions of labor capability. Ordinary people, when guided and trained effectively, could accomplish tasks previously considered the exclusive domain of skilled artisans. The Liberty Ship program also shattered long-held assumptions about the necessity of perfection. Kaiser's philosophy was pragmatic. Adequate, reliable ships delivered faster could move more cargo than perfect vessels still under construction. This utilitarian approach emphasized throughput over artistry, functionality over aesthetics. It was a radical shift that disturbed traditional maritime authorities, but ultimately delivered measurable results. Production charts, construction timelines, and delivery records spoke louder than skepticism, proving that speed, organization, and modular construction could triumph over centuries of craft-based tradition. The integration of women and minorities into skilled roles redefined industrial labor norms. At peak production, tens of thousands of women were welding, fitting, and supervising, while African American workers took on critical technical responsibilities. The shipyards became a microcosm of social progress, demonstrating that access to training and opportunity was more consequential than inherited privilege. The skills these workers acquired had enduring value, creating a post-war workforce equipped with technical competence, industrial discipline, and the confidence to pursue new economic opportunities across sectors. Kaiser's innovations extended beyond immediate wartime demands. Prefabrication, parallel production, and modular assembly would influence shipbuilding globally for decades. Japan and South Korea, when rebuilding their maritime industries after the war, studied Kaiser's approaches to establish modern shipyards. Prefabrication techniques spread into housing, industrial facilities, and large-scale construction projects worldwide, while the organizational principles of streamlined workflows and targeted training became foundational concepts in operations management and industrial engineering. The Liberty Ship program became a case study in how necessity drives innovation, reshaping assumptions about industrial limits. Remarkably, quality and reliability did not suffer. Despite concerns that rapid construction and welded assemblies would compromise structural integrity, Liberty ships demonstrated resilience. While a handful experienced fractures, catastrophic failures were exceedingly rare, and many ships outlasted their intended 5-year service life, remaining operational for decades. Museum ships like SS John W. Brown and SS Jeremiah O'Brien serve as enduring reminders of the ingenuity and effectiveness of Kaiser's methods. Speed did not necessitate compromise. It proved that innovative processes could deliver both quantity and functionality simultaneously. The economic impact was transformative. Shipyard towns expanded almost overnight, stimulating local economies and creating employment opportunities that extended beyond the war. Richmond, California, and Vanport, Oregon, illustrate the scale of industrial mobilization, with entire communities built around shipyards. The ripple effects of Kaiser's investments also extended to healthcare, with the creation of integrated medical services that would evolve into Kaiser Permanente, pioneering preventive and accessible healthcare for workers, another innovation born from the demands of rapid industrial production. Perhaps the most profound lesson of the Liberty Ship program was the psychological revolution it sparked. Conventional wisdom had insisted on limitations, that skilled work required years of training, and that tradition dictated production capacity. Kaiser demonstrated that innovation, organization, and belief in human potential could break these barriers. The program did not merely build ships, it redefined human and industrial capability. It proved that extraordinary results emerge when ordinary people are given training, opportunity, and trust, and that industrial revolutions arise from bold, systemic reimagination rather than incremental adjustments. The final chapter of the Liberty Ship saga is not measured merely in tons of steel or numbers of ships launched, but in the profound transformation it brought to industry, society, and human expectation. By the end of World War II, 2,710 Liberty ships had been constructed across American shipyards, with Kaiser's 7 yards contributing more than half. These vessels, once dismissed as simple cargo carriers, were now the lifeblood of Allied operations, moving troops, vehicles, supplies, and ammunition across oceans faster than enemy forces could disrupt. Yet the real victory lay not just in logistics, but in proving that industrial innovation could overcome the most entrenched limitations. Kaiser's methods became a template for modern manufacturing. The use of prefabrication and modular construction, combined with a workforce trained in specialized tasks, demonstrated that massive production could be both rapid and reliable. Traditional apprenticeship models, requiring years of training for comprehensive skill mastery, were replaced by a focus on efficiency, repetition, and targeted competence. Workers became experts in their individual roles, capable of producing quality output at speeds unimaginable in conventional shipbuilding. The psychological impact of this realization reverberated far beyond maritime production, inspiring industries across America to reconsider the limits of capability. The social implications were equally groundbreaking. The workforce of Richmond, Portland, and other Kaiser shipyards included tens of thousands of women and African Americans, who proved their skill and reliability in demanding technical roles. For the first time, industrial America witnessed large-scale integration and recognition of talent regardless of gender or race. These workers not only contributed to wartime victory, but carried skills, confidence, and social capital into post-war careers, reshaping labor markets and creating opportunities previously denied to many. The shipyards became training grounds for both professional expertise and societal change, cementing Kaiser's program as a model of human and industrial empowerment. Despite initial fears, quality was never sacrificed for speed. Though some welded ships experienced fractures, failures were rare, and most vessels exceeded their projected 5-year lifespans. SS John W. Brown and SS Jeremiah O'Brien, both built in 1942, remain operational as museum ships, proof that rapid construction could coexist with durability and functionality. The ships themselves became symbols of American ingenuity, ordinary laborers achieving extraordinary results, systems replacing tradition, and necessity driving innovation beyond expectations. The economic and infrastructural impact extended far beyond the shipyards. Boomtowns like Richmond and Vanport arose almost overnight, providing employment, housing, and services for tens of thousands. Industrial investments in steel, aluminum, and other materials expanded regional production capabilities, while integrated health services pioneered by Kaiser and Dr. Sidney Garfield provided workers with comprehensive care, shaping future healthcare models. The Liberty Ship program demonstrated that industrial mobilization could transform communities, economies, and public services simultaneously. Globally, Kaiser's influence reshaped shipbuilding standards. Japan and South Korea studied his methods when rebuilding their maritime industries, adopting prefabrication, modular assembly, and specialized training techniques. These practices spread into multiple industries, from housing construction to industrial manufacturing, proving that lessons from wartime necessity could drive peacetime progress. Kaiser had not merely produced ships. He had created a framework for scalable, efficient, and adaptive production systems that would influence decades of global industrial development. Ultimately, the Liberty ships embodied a lesson in human potential. The rapid construction, achieved by thousands of ordinary workers guided by innovative systems, proved that limitations are often artificial, imposed by tradition rather than reality. Ordinary people, when organized, trained, and trusted, could accomplish feats that experts once deemed impossible. The ships carried more than cargo. They carried evidence that innovation, courage, and effective organization could redefine possibility itself. Kaiser's legacy lives on in every modern shipyard, in every prefabrication line, and in every manager or engineer who challenges conventional wisdom. From December 1940, when he signed his first contract, to November 1942, when Robert E. Peary was launched in less than 5 days, and through the delivery of the final Liberty ship in 1945, the program demonstrated that industrial revolutions are born from vision, audacity, and the belief in people's capacity to achieve the extraordinary. The story of Liberty ships remains a testament to human ingenuity, industrial mastery, and the transformative power of organized effort, forever redefining the possible in war, industry, and beyond.